to be able to introduce this next session, our culminating session of the day. We will have a few final thoughts after this is done, but we've been looking forward to this. This has been a project that's been in action since the first of the year. We're now in April at our district assembly, and traditionally this is when we hold the four-way TED speech contest. Now, we have one of our past district governors has been running this the past couple of years and has done a fantastic job. And I'm just going to hand the mic to him. So would Jeff Krause please join me at the podium?
Thank you, Robert. As we talked a little bit in the youth session this morning, is you're all part of the youth program today. You have a very important role to play as we go through this process. But this year we had 14 clubs participate, and over 60 young people start the process through winning their club speech contest and attending the district semifinals, one in Norwich, and I want to thank those people for hosting it. You guys, a big shout out to you guys. And Trumbull Club. Is Trumbull's here? Yeah, great. They do a wonderful job hosting it. We had 14 final contestants. This year we added 4 new clubs. We dropped 1, so we have 14 participating. 25% of the clubs in the district. And we'd like to get that up to 50% if we can in the next. Okay, don't do this to me. Huh? Speak up? Yeah, I could speak up, but. Hello?
Press and hold. Green button on.
Hello? Yeah, okay. Make sure the green button is on. So, my last shout out, I just want to thank, there are a couple predecessors in this program. Mark Davis from Wallingford did a great job for a number of years. And I know my buddy, past Assistant Governor Ron Webb did it for a number of years. Ron, thank you. Okay, without further ado, we want to have the students come up to the stage. Getting a new mic, okay. So will the students please come up?
Can we get a mic that actually stays permanently on?
4 students today. You have a very important role because you're going to be voting on them. Now, I made a mistake with the ballot. It says circle 1. Don't take that literally. It means just circle a selection. So don't circle 1. That, you know, not that. Hello, yes. Getting better all the time. This is great. So you guys can sit and rest for a minute. And their speeches are 7 minutes long. It has to be a minimum of 5 minutes. And you'll get to vote on them. It has to do with the 4-way test, and they all have different topics where they integrate the 4-way test and our ethics into their speech. So and that's part of the criteria you should be looking for when you judge. It's also about presentation and the relevance of the topic. So the ballots are out. There's no early voting, and we certainly do not accept absentee ballots. So we don't want to go there. So anyway, you will the order. You've seen your program, but that's not the order we're going into. There's a random order, and you won't know their names until the end and they'll introduce themselves while we pick up the ballots and tally the report. Each of these students are a winner. They have to win. For first prize is a $500 award, and the other 3 will get $250 as being runner-up. So they're already winners. So why don't we give them just a big hand already? Thank you. Thank you. So I have to introduce 2 other people real quick. Ron Holtz will be the official timer. Ron right there, so students see where he is and take a look. He's going to hold up at the 5-minute mark, which is the minimum. He's going to hold that up. And when you have 1 minute left, he's going to hold that up. And then the 7-minute one, we're not going to get that far, so that's good. All right. I'd like to at this time introduce Beth Stoller, who does a great job at the Trumbull Club, past president, and hosts one of our semifinals. And she will do the running of the speech contest right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm delighted to be here. Jeff asked me this morning if I would help out with this. I just want to commend the 4 of you. I'm part of also the co-interact chair at Trumbull High School. And when we did this, the students have to do, for us at least, I don't know if all of you had to do it, they came and did it in front of a few of us adults that's your first round, and then again at the club level, and then again at the 2 district semifinals. So you guys have been doing this for a while, and this amongst all of the other activities and end-of-year projects and everything that's going on, you rock. You guys do such an awesome job just being here. But I'll stop talking. It's now time for you guys to talk. So would student number 1 please come up? There you go.
I remember the day, like it was yesterday, that I asked my mom if I could get social media. I made an entire presentation about it, actually. I begged and begged for it, simply because all my friends had it. So I got it, and I was so incredibly excited. But the thing is, I would do anything to go back and stop myself. Because from the moment I downloaded Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram, I wasn't a kid anymore. Within the next few years, I lost myself. I saw videos of girls with perfect bodies and perfect lives, and I couldn't help but compare. Not only this, I was addicted. So much so that I was anxious to be away from my phone. I never want to see another child be influenced by social media at such a young age or be forced to grow up prematurely. This is why I would like to propose passing legislation to make it illegal for parents to buy their children who are 10 years old or younger their own smartphone. Now, first of all, is it the truth? Is it true that social media and smartphones are plaguing youth and destroying mental health? Well, researchers have found that youth who spend the most time online are statistically more likely to develop mental health problems. Problems like depression, anxiety, social anxiety, body dysmorphia, and more. And this will continue to get worse because the age that youth are entering the world of social media is becoming increasingly younger. Studies show that nearly half of children aged 8 through 12 use social media regardless of the 13-year-old age requirement that many sites preach. These sites don't actually require proof of their users' ages, partly because many people do not have an ID, but also because restricting an entire audience will ultimately cost them money. But it's crazy to think that just 13 years ago, Snapchat hadn't even been invented. TikTok is only 8 years old, and that fast, it has become normalized for elementary schoolers to be using them. How can parents feel comfortable allowing their children on these platforms, knowing that they are prone to exposure to cyberbullying, inappropriate content, and even pedophilia? So is it fair to all concerned? I understand that prohibiting smartphone ownership raises concerns about safety. After all, that is how parents often communicate with their children. In no way, shape, or form am I suggesting that children be prohibited from using phones in general. By all means, allow them to use flip phones or burner phones that may only let them text and call. You can find these on Amazon. I will tell you right now, parents will save a fortune buying their children these simple devices instead of smartphones. By limiting youth to this, they will be protected from social media while remaining in contact with their parents when necessary. But to look at the situation from another perspective, social media is not all bad, really. There are many comforting aspects of it that can be a great outlet at times. Cute kid videos never get old when you're having a bad day, for instance. It is not necessarily social media that is the problem, but the lack of self-control. And I understand how addicting it can be. I experienced it myself. This is why I do not have a problem with younger children experimenting with social media from a parent's device. But by not having their own smartphone, where social media is constantly available to them, time spent online can be minimized exponentially. There is simply no reason for a young child to have their own smartphone. Because even if parents think that they are doing their absolute best to protect their child from the dangers of the internet, there is simply no foolproof way to do so in this day and age. Social media and smartphones go hand in hand. So will it build goodwill and better friendships? I am a believer that the best relationships can never be dependent on technology. With the instant gratification that social media provides, meaningful interactions have become sparse. Many people prefer to have brief, superficial conversations than in-depth ones. I, for one, am lucky enough to have a friend group that I feel comfortable discussing heavier topics with. Just like any other group of teenage girls, we go on social media, of course, but we also know when to stop. I've met countless people who spend their lives on social media, vying for acceptance and approval at all times. In short, it is difficult to maintain a friendship with someone who bases their personality, decisions, and self-worth off of expectations created on social media. Moreover, I've met high schoolers, middle schoolers, and elementary schoolers who are more educated and concerned about the latest TikTok trend than the history of the United States. And finally, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Jonathan Haidt, author of The Anxious Generation, which discusses the recent epidemic of mental illness, says that he encourages parents to ask themselves, what did you love most about your childhood? And the typical answer, he said, was playing outside with other kids. What seems so simple has become a rarity for the youth of today because of smartphones. This is why I wholeheartedly believe that everyone could benefit from this legislation. I urge parents to visualize a future in which their children are free to be children, a future in which they don't have to feel so disconnected. All that time that children are spending online could be spent with their family, friends, and community, building those relationships. And most importantly, prohibiting smartphone ownership will improve the lives of tons and tons of children who are at risk of losing themselves in the void of social media. They will be less likely to develop mental illnesses and more likely to develop the social skills necessary to pursue a promising career and maintain healthy relationships. I would like to see laws passed as soon as possible, in as many states as possible. Yes, it's easy to think that the situation is a lost cause, that this is just what our world has become. But it doesn't have to be this way. So if social media companies will not protect youth by requiring identification from their users, it is imperative that lawmakers step in. But I understand that a law cannot prevent every parent from buying their child a smartphone. However, I do believe that legislation would inspire many parents to protect their children from social media and themselves by refraining from buying them a smartphone. And if just one child could be saved from the destruction that social media ensues, that would be enough for me to know that this is worth all the effort it would take to pursue. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, now I'd like to invite student number 2.
8 years ago, on a gorgeous July afternoon, my family and I were taking a bike ride through our new neighborhood. My mother raced after my older brother as I huffed and puffed on my hot pink ride, trailing behind my dad, simply taking in the beauty of the day. Then, 1 broken rib, 3 shattered teeth, 12 stitches, and 1 pothole later, my mother was in the ICU. At 9 years old, I didn't think that bad things could happen on gorgeous days, but my mother's bike had hit a snag in the road, causing her to go flying forward with nothing to catch her but hot summer asphalt. For a 10-minute ambulance transportation, we were charged $9,000, and our new insurance would only cover $800 of that cost. So we could only take care of my mother because we were lucky. Our friends and family came forward to help us cover the cost of each expensive minute. A 2016 New York Times article best describes the phenomenon that my family and I had fallen victim to. We called 911, but Wall Street answered. In 2018, a Boston woman fell between the cracks of a subway car and the platform. And as bystanders rocked the subway car back and forth, trying to extricate her leg, which had been cut down to the bone, she begged witnesses not to call 911. "Do you know how much an ambulance costs?" she cried. "I can't afford that." And stories like that have become common. Since the 2008 financial crisis, private equity has taken up much of what was once government-funded and state-run EMS. And now private equity is skilled at turning a profit, which is great for business. But for emergency care, this creates a fundamental dissonance. We cannot allow businesses to turn a profit from people during the most vulnerable moments. Let us then consider the principles put forth by the Rotary Club's four-way test to the proposition of deprivatizing the EMS system. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned? Is it the truth? The American truth is that our EMS system is fragmented. Healthcare protocols, quality of medical care, and cost can all vary just based on geographical location. But emergencies don't discriminate. They can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. So why are we allowing emergency medical care to discriminate? My truth, as a Fairfield resident, is that if I lived a mere 30 minutes north in Easton, my family wouldn't have had to worry about the high ambulance bills. Fairfield EMS, like many other stations in Connecticut, is run by a private equity firm, AMR. But in Easton, where I've been a medical responder for the past 2 years, our EMS system is state-funded and government-run. This means that we can offer what's called a soft billing policy. So we only take from you what your insurance pays for. There are 0 out-of-pocket costs for residents of Easton. So when an Easton resident calls 911, their only concern is getting better, not high ambulance fees, like my family and so many others have faced. And that's the truth. Is it fair to all concerned? Well, beyond our discussion of patients, we must also consider the overarching benefit to first responders. Over 71% of first responders report working more than 40 hours a week, doing overtime through birthdays, holidays, and weekends, sometimes even working multiple jobs just to make ends meet. I work 2 jobs, one as a biology tutor and one as a first responder. In one of these jobs, I get paid $50 an hour for teaching freshmen about the inner workings of cells. In the other job, I risk my own safety by stepping into sometimes dangerous situations, but I take care of my community through car crashes, overdoses, strokes, heart attacks, and so much more. But on average, private equity firms like AMR only pay their EMTs $19 an hour. The way things are isn't fair. The obscene amount of money that patients are charged with private equity firms don't actually go to the people who are taking care of you in an ambulance. By cutting out this third party and deprivatizing EMS, we can in turn raise wages of first responders and fairly compensate them for their sacrifice. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Goodwill and friendship is built on the solidarity of individuals, by communities coming together in times of crisis. I've met many people in Easton who call upon 911 frequently for medical assistance getting up the stairs or for vital checks to manage long-term health conditions. My colleagues and I can absolutely build goodwill and better friendships amongst the people we care for because they know that when they call 911, we're not there to charge high ambulance fees or to turn a profit. We're just there to help. Deprivatizing EMS will absolutely create a sense of solidarity in the community because it'll reaffirm the principle that healthcare is a right. Well-being and life itself are not some commodities made to be bought and sold. And finally, is it beneficial to all concerned? Ingrained in what it means to be American are 3 unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, an emergency occurs when your life is at risk, so not only are first responders protecting you, but they're protecting these basic rights. How can we put a cost on our unalienable rights as Americans? No one in this city, in this state, or in this country should have to worry about paying high ambulance bills when their life is at risk. What's beneficial to all of us is investing in a collective future, one where every life is valued and protected. That is why we must work together to deprivatize EMS here in New Haven, in this district, and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we have student number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, student number 3.
How many of you have had to take a prescription medication after a doctor's visit? Were you aware of the prices, or were you fortunate enough to not have to think twice about the affordability? Coming from a family who has experienced various health issues, I have gotten up close and personal with the costly prices of prescription medications, along with the financial burdens that they bring to the table. A few years ago, a loved one was diagnosed with cancer. His cancer medications cost him $160,000 a year, not including the hundreds of thousands of dollars that he spent on his in-hospital cancer treatments. This year, his medication went up to $200,000 a year. The United States government needs to regulate the prices of pharmaceutical drugs so that millions of Americans can afford their life-saving prescriptions. I will be putting this to the 4-way test by asking 4 questions. Is it the truth that the government has the authority to regulate the prices of pharmaceutical drugs? Will government involvement in the regulation of these prices be fair to all concerned? Will government involvement build goodwill and better friendships? Will this prove to be beneficial to all concerned? First, I ask the question, is it the truth? It is true that the government has the resources to effectively regulate the prices of these drugs. Currently, pharmaceutical companies that produce the drugs are also responsible for setting the prices, knowing that there are no alternative drugs out there on the market for consumers to access. Regardless of demand, these companies raise prices higher than inflation rates in order to be able to increase their revenue. They set whatever prices that they want on newly created drugs, which serves as the main source of these companies' revenue. There is evidence of government involvement being effective in the regulation of these drugs. Oregon launched their drug price transparency program in 2018. It allows the state to analyze the effects of the costly prices of prescription medications. It requires manufacturers to submit an annual planned price report to effectively regulate these prices. Now that we know that it is true that the government has the authority to regulate the prices of pharmaceutical drugs, will this be fair to all concerned? Pharmaceutical companies fear that government involvement will do more harm than good. A 2021 study conducted by the University of Chicago showed that pharmaceutical companies' revenue will decrease by 30%. They fear government involvement will sacrifice innovation. Although these companies will earn less revenue, the reduced prices will build better relationships between consumers and the federal government. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? 52% of Americans reported that they do not take their medications as prescribed because of their inability to afford it, according to a study conducted by Harvard Medical School. The 2023 Medication Access Report showed that 36% of Americans skip taking their medications altogether because they need that money to afford food. No one should have to sacrifice basic necessities to afford their life-saving medications. Not only will drug price regulations build goodwill and better friendships between the government and consumers, it will benefit millions of Americans. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? A substantial amount of money can be saved from drug pricing reforms. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the United States government can save $500 billion over the course of 10 years if they regulate the prices of certain pharmaceutical drugs. This money has the ability to be reinvested into the National Institutes of Health research budgets, encouraging the development of new life-saving medications. Drug price regulations by the government will not sacrifice innovation. The patents that are currently produced by pharmaceutical companies are mostly modified versions of those already out there on the market. Small companies, based off of university research, is currently the dominant source of innovation and is funded by the National Institutes of Health research budgets, according to the Oxford Journal for Biological Sciences. Drug pricing reforms will also lead to a significant decrease in the amounts of deaths. A study conducted by West Health medical experts concluded that there will be 1.1 million premature deaths by 2030 because of Americans' inability solutions they desperately need. Drug price regulations will benefit millions of Americans. Now that we've put it through the four-way test, should the government regulate the prices of pharmaceutical drugs? It is true that the government has the authority to effectively regulate the prices of these drugs. Currently, pharmaceutical companies are in charge of setting the prices for these drugs, with their main reasoning to be to increase their revenue. Although these companies will earn less revenue, the Americans, along with the federal government, will save a substantial amount of money, building goodwill and better friendships. The regulation of drug prices by the United States government should not be seen as a limit to innovation, but instead viewed as a benefit to all concerned. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, more than 650,000 ex-offenders are released from prison every year. About 2/3 of that number will likely be rearrested within 3 years of their arrest. Take a moment. Think about this. How is this productive for our society? It is very clear that there is something very wrong with our justice system. This is something that resonates with me because I myself have family members who have been incarcerated before, and I've heard firsthand what conditions in American prisons are really like. When compared to the general population, men and women with a history of incarceration are said to be in worse health, mental and physical health at that. Throughout this speech, I will be using the Rotary four-way test to address the struggles in which inmates face and to explain why the justice system should be reformed to help and not hurt those who are incarcerated. The first question of our four-way Rotary test asks, is it the truth? Now, I can prove this to you by throwing out statistics like every year that an inmate spends in jail takes 2 years off their life expectancy, or that the U.S. prison population has grown by a whopping 20% in the last 20 years. But the truth is in the proof. Proof that these individuals are experiencing actual physical health symptoms because of incarceration. There was a study done by the National Institute of Health that analyzed all physical health symptoms that inmates in solitary confinement face and broke them down into the top 3 most common amongst inmates. Skin irritations and weight fluctuations, untreated or mistreated chronic conditions, and musculoskeletal pain that is often aggravated by the strict policies of solitary confinement. Now, the 3 that I listed are because a lack of space that these inmates are confined to, therefore a lack of exercise and or movement, and probably most importantly, a lack of medical treatment administered to inmates, especially those with chronic conditions. Pillar number 2 asks, is it fair to all concerned? The condition in prisons now? No, it is not fair. It is not fair to these people, and it is not fair to our society. This is why prison reform is so important, so that it may be fair to all. Unfairly, just this past October, there was an inmate in the South Mississippi Correctional Institute in Leakesville who complained of blood in his urine and was experiencing extreme back pain. He brought this up to the medical personnel at his facility, and it took 6 days before he was brought to the ER. After he was taken to the emergency room, he was referred to a specialist and sent back to his facility. And it took weeks before he was finally told he would not be able to seek that medical treatment from that specialist because of transportation issues. Now, whether this inmate was telling the truth or not, this inmate was still a human at the end of the day and deserved the right to medical care. When an inmate is denied the right to medical care in a prison or a jail, that law enforcer is literally violating that person's rights and in turn, breaking the law. In addition to physical health, incarceration has negative health effects on the mental health. Mental health inmates' experience is often serious, which is shown by the large number of inmates on psychiatric medication. mental health has a variety of detrimental outcomes on inmates both during and after the period of incarceration. Some of these negative effects include death or physical harm to themselves or others around them. This brings us to part 3 of our 4-way test, which asks, will it build goodwill and better friendships? The short answer, 100%. Absolutely. Inmates are people just like you and I. They have lives, families, friends, and emotions. Poor mental health reduces employability and the ability for inmates to find housing post-release. This likely contributes to the continued mental health difficulties because of the high risk of reoccurrence in a lot of mental health conditions. Inmates who have been lucky enough to participate in reform programs mentioned how it helped turn their lives around and be a better role model for their community after they were released. I mean, just think about how these people can come back to their lives, but with new knowledge and new skills to help them succeed. Maybe they'll start a new job and build better connections and friendships there. Maybe they'll participate in community service. Or just plainly, they'll be more present in the lives of their families and friends, bettering life around for all. We as a society need to do better in the ways in which we treat those who break the law, because then we can officially answer yes to our last 4-way test question. Is it beneficial to all concerned? Of course, we need consequences for our society to function better, but the conditions of our prisons need to change, period. Inmates should not be subjected to physical, emotional, nor mental turmoil. They should be there to learn and grow so that they can contribute positively to our society after they are released. It's time we rethink the way in which we structure our prisons. That way we can create a better society for all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, Jeff will talk to you.
Wow, that's a tough decision, so take a minute or two to make that decision.
Okay, I know you're doing 2 things at once. 1 is filling out your ballot, and 2 is listening, because we're now going to meet our students. Student number 1, please tell us who you are and a little bit about your town, where you come from, and what your plans are for your future.
Hi everyone, my name is Kellen Culver. I'm a sophomore at Valley Regional High School. I love to read, I love to write. I'm part of the Interact Club, the newspaper club at my school, and I play volleyball and softball. Currently, I am undecided as to what major I'm going to pursue, but right now, I'm leaning towards journalism or political advocacy.
Thank you. Okay, student number 2.
Hello, my name is Arushi Malarapu. I'm a senior at Fairfield Ludlow High School. I'm also committed to study neuroscience at NYU. I'm planning on being a neurosurgeon and working in healthcare reform. I just want to give a huge thank you to the organizers of the event and everyone here for being such a great audience. This has been such a great opportunity. And I also want to give a huge thank you to my parents who supported me through this whole process and have heard me give this speech like 1,000 times. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Student number 3.
Hi, I am Felicia Silva. I am a senior at Norwich Academy. I recently just decided between UConn and Eastern, and I chose Eastern, and I'm going to study health sciences and biology on the pre-med track. Thank you all for this amazing opportunity to be able to speak to you guys today.
Excellent. And student number 4, please.
Hi again. My name is Kayla Johnson. I'm a senior at Bunnell High School. I am part of the Women of Color, which is known as Living in Color in my school club. I'm also part of the, why am I forgetting? People of Color, or People of the Islands, which is another kind of spin off of that club. I'm a part of the
You're not old enough to forget.
but a couple more clubs that'll come to mind later. But so I'm also a senior journalist at my school for both my journalism class and my sports literature journalism class. I'm part of, that's what it was called, I'm part of HOSA. I don't know why I was forgetting that, HOSA, which is a kind of medical professions interest club at my school. I'm looking to major in mass communications with a concentration in sports. So sports analytics, anything like that, that's kind of what I'm interested in. I'd love to get my associates in exercise science because I also love exercise and everything fitness. The bachelor's would be in the mass communications, and I'd love to go on to go to graduate school, hopefully at UNC Chapel Hill, but we'll see how that works out. And thank you all for listening. I appreciate it.
What a great way to go. What's your dream job?
So, I don't know, fellow Connecticutans, if you will, here, Rebecca Lobo, she's my biggest inspiration. So she works for ESPN up in Bristol, and she's in sports analytics. Actually, when I was playing basketball, I played with her daughter without knowing it was her daughter. So that's something that she's kind of in. I'm looking forward to joining that field.
And you didn't mention any schools. Do you have any schools you're looking at besides UNC Chapel Hill for grad school?
I would love to do a HBCU. I recently went on a 16-school tour. I just came back from down south, and I went to North Carolina Agriculture and Technical State University, and that was my favorite. So that's where I'm looking at.
Awesome, awesome. No SEC.
No,
Okay, all right. So now you mentioned a couple of schools, right, or one school, right?
Eastern.
That's right, Eastern Connecticut, right? And so you're interested in, you mentioned medical, you're heading in the medical field. So what is your dream kind of role in 10 years? Where would you like to be?
I would love to be a dermatologist who has my own clinic here in Connecticut. That's my dream job.
Wow, that's great. And do you have any aspirations for travel or any sort of reaching out into the world community?
I'm hoping to study abroad at Eastern. They have a great science program where they go to different countries and help give medical supplies to those who need it. So I hope I can do that in my junior, senior year in college.
That's amazing, you know, and you know about Rotary because you've been talking about it. There's a lot of people in this room that are doing that sort of thing right now, so I'll make sure the crowds and I give you a contact information so you can seek that out further, okay?
Thank you so much.
Good job. This is great. So now here's the sophomore in the crowd. So you probably haven't had a lot of time to think about this yet because you haven't started looking at schools, right?
No, I have not looked at schools yet, but I'm hoping to tour some this summer.
And do you have any ones that you're somewhat interested in that intrigue you? And from a career standpoint, I'll ask you the same question. Where are you in 10 years?
Well, my dream schools for journalism are Princeton and Columbia, and I just wanted to give a shout out to my mom for sparking my interest in journalism. She has a ton of experience in journalism, and I've gotten all my skills from her. Not exaggerating, she taught me everything.
That's fantastic. You know, Mother's Day is coming up, right? So that's incredible. So from a journalism standpoint, give us one more perspective. What kind of journalism are you looking to write about? What is intriguing to you?
Well, I'm kind of trying to look at it from all different perspectives, but right now my dream is to work at a fashion magazine because I'm also very interested in fashion, but I do love the political advocacy part of journalism as well, so I'm definitely torn with that.
That's great. We have a couple of Rotarians that work in the fashion world down in New York City, so you make sure you connect with us afterwards. We'll give you the contact information, all right? Really? Absolutely, absolutely. And last, so impressive again, amazing. Where are you going again?
I'm going to NYU to study neuroscience.
Wow. So what is neuroscience to you? Where are you in 10 years with neuroscience?
Well, I want to become a neurosurgeon and really work in healthcare reform as well. So I'm also planning on doing either a double major or a minor in law. I can see myself working with Doctors Without Borders, but I think I need to sharpen up on my French for that. But I'm just really excited. I love the brain, and I think it's just so cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to college.
So that's fantastic. I just want to once again, I know we got the winner, right?
We're all set.
We're all set, so I'm just going to hand the mic to Jeff, or to
Beth.
To Beth.
Beth will announce it.
So congratulations to all four of you. Again, we couldn't be any more proud of all of you. We have the winner and we have 3 runners-up in any kind of order. So the 3 runners-up, again, in no specific order. Felicia Silva. Felicia, come on up. Jeff?
The governor.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you. Another runner-up is Kayla Johnson. Kayla?
Congratulations. Picture. Congratulations again.
Congratulations. And then another runner-up is Arushi. Help me, Arushi. Malarapu. Which sort of leaves the winner to be Helen Colbert. Congratulations.
Can we get all the runners up?
Yeah, can we get everybody together? Yeah, this is great.